on today's episode of Phinside The NFL. Tua Tagovailoa is confirmed to have rejected at least one offer, but both sides, are they optimistic a deal will still get done before the season starts? Plus, does Xavien Howard regret not restructuring his deal with the Miami Dolphins to stay a part of this franchise? We will talk about all of that and so much more. Do me the favor, smash the like button, subscribe if you are new. Let's get into this.
Loses the football. Touchdown! Got it!
You have got to be kidding me.
Jalen Waddle has a Dolphin touchdown. And he will score!
Field down the near side, man open. Touchdown!
The run from Tua Tagovailoa.
Touchdown!
He's going deep. He's got it over the touchdown again.
Beautiful day to be a Dolphin fan.
Let's go!
What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason. We are back here for another one. Sorry, I just had to laugh. I see a comment, trade Tua Tagovailoa for Tennessee Titans QB Will Levis, who is my favorite quarterback in that class. I see people loving on Jordan Love, like I talked about at the end of the season and on yesterday's show. It's like, no matter where y'all go, you're going to end up with one of my guys. Oh, my God, it's hilarious. Anyways, smash that like button, subscribe if you are new. Appreciate each and every one of you coming through as we are back here again on Sunday. The hardest worker in the room is off vacation, people, so you know what that means. OTAs do start tomorrow, and they will follow on Tuesday and throughout the week, so we'll be covering OTAs this week as well. We'll have the finish line, Fin Too Deep, and everything returning, and hopefully some new stuff over the next few weeks as we look to integrate a new member of the channel. So, you know, Tom Santanillo, I mean, it was the comment of the day. With the comment of the day. Anyone can have an opinion, doesn't mean you should listen. Oh, my God. See? What do I keep telling all y'all? Anyways, like, you know, just because there's someone in the chat who isn't obviously the very smartest person. So, you know, and so anyways, I hope everyone is having a fantastic weekend. I hope everyone has had, well, I mean, in Canada, you know, we're living the life because we have tomorrow off. So, you know, but I appreciate each and everyone taking some time out of your day to come through. For me, you know, I got a couple things I still want to talk about that I wasn't able to cover that happened while I was out of the country. So there's a few things I want to talk about before we get into the news here. Dolphins, non-Dolphin stuff here. First of all, let's start with the Dolphins thing. All right. I don't know if anyone saw this week, but, you know, you came out here and had Antoine Winfield. You know, we all knew it was coming. I warned all y'all he was going to be the top paid safety in the NFL. There were people on Twitter who didn't believe me. Here we are. Antoine Winfield signed a 4-year, $84.1 million deal. $45 million of that is fully guaranteed. And that is going to impact Jevon Holland's asking price and what he wants. Jevon Holland is going to be asked coming in around the $20 million range. Like, that's just, people need to cope with that. I don't know what else to tell you. I keep trying to tell all of y'all that his representation, how many times have I said this? I don't just say things to say things. I'm giving y'all hints without fully coming out and saying. Think about the negotiations. His team, his agency has done a fantastic job whenever you see ESPN, NFL Network, Fox, CBS talk about the top young safeties in the NFL. He's always mentioned. They've done a fantastic job of keeping him in that conversation just as much as his play has. Now, I get people are going to say, hey, Antoine Winfield, he was on a Pro Bowl in 21, All-Pro in 2023. That's fantastic. First of all, we all know, this is just what the deal is. Jevon Holland is considered a top 5, at worst, top 10 young safety in the NFL. At worst. You got guys like Justin Simmons who are out on the market right now, 31 years old, top 5 safety overall in the NFL, can't even get paid. That's just a fact. So, be prepared. Jevon Holland is coming in that $20 million range. And if he has a good season, it's going to be he's going to look to reset the market. He might be banking on himself saying, man, I saw what Weaver and that defense did for Kyle Hamilton. Now, he's not the athlete Kyle Hamilton is. But I'm just warning all of you. Aaron, listen, I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, are you being serious or are we being serious right now? Are you being serious right now? I want to ask you this, if you're being serious now. I'll wait for your answer before I respond, because you're not going to like my response if you're being serious. So I'm asking you right now, are you serious? And I will give you about 10 seconds to answer before I absolutely destroy this question if you are being serious. I'm waiting here. All right. I'm not seeing anything. Okay. Yeah, no trolling. Okay. Congratulations, my friend. This is the dumbest question I've been asked since I got back from vacation, since before I left for vacation. Like, congratulations. Give yourself a round of applause. No fucking Dolphins quarterback had been to the Pro Bowl since 1995, Dan Marino. What are we talking about here? We had gone almost 30 years without a Pro Bowl quarterback who just led the league in passing. Who was the last Miami Dolphins quarterback to lead the league in passing? Do you realize we've had more than 20 quarterbacks since 2000, sir? Do you realize the list you're talking about, sir? Like, what are we talking about? Tannehill was far more overpraised than him. Overhated? Jared Goff gets $53 million, no one blinks an eye. Y'all want to sit here and talk about, well, Tua needs supporting cast. Did y'all not go look up the roster of the Rams team that went to the Super Bowl and lost to Goff? Seems some of y'all forget that Todd Gurley was absolutely feasting. Everyone seems to forget before Gurley's knees became Jay Ajayi 2.0. Everyone seems to forget the run game they had. Everyone seems to forget the defense they had. Aaron Donald in his prime, sir. Deontay Moore just hit. We had Jay Fiedler was a quarterback for this team. See, that's why I talk about these people who want to talk about interceptions. You want to talk about a guy who had untimely interceptions? That's him. Overhated? Brother, the guy's hated by everyone. He's hated for clicks. Overpraised. He deserves all the praise he gets. Just go back the last 2 years. Go look at how many single game or single season records of Marinos fell by their wayside to this kid. We're talking top 5 to top 8 in all major statistical categories for a quarterback in the NFL over the last 2 years. Just because people give them his flowers that he's earned does not mean he's overpraised, because a lot of y'all were writing him off. A lot of y'all told us he could never look like a franchise quarterback. Then the Baltimore Ravens comeback happened 2 years ago, and all y'all were like, well, I gotta see more. Don't think, I know some of y'all that lead these agendas and the narratives after that Broncos game in the blowout, y'all were out here, I apologize, I'm sorry, Tua Tagovailoa is a franchise quarterback. We put up over 70 points. Go look at who that Broncos team beat within the next 5 weeks of losing to us, because one of those teams won the Super Bowl last year. So if you want me to be keeping a buck with you, Tua's underappreciated by this team. And by this fan, well, not by this team appreciates him, by this fan base. You got people out here trying to tell you he's not good enough and his numbers are hollow when he just led the league in passing. Why? Because it doesn't fit their narrative. They told all you he could never do that. They told y'all he would break his hip walking up to the podium just when his name got announced when he was drafted by us. And here he is, proving he's a franchise quarterback. Led the league in passing and could potentially do it again. And he's been in the MVP conversation for 2 years in a row. Who was the last quarterback we had in the MVP conversation? Chad Pennington. But everyone wants to praise him for the Wildcat year and underappreciate Ronnie Brown when the guy didn't even throw 20 touchdowns that season. So what are we talking about here? He is the best quarterback to wear our jersey, and it's not even close since Dan Marino. And you want to hear something better? I'll call me controversial, whatever you want. He's better than Bob Greasy. If you talk about his ability as a passer, he's light years beyond Greasy. What are we talking about here? He's the second best quarterback to wear our jersey. The first is Dan. And you got a long way to go till you supplant Dan, Tua. Let me put that out there. Okay? You're not supplanting Dan, all right? You got to actually win playoff games and, more than a handful to supplant Dan. But what's happening? The first time since we had, that amazing defense? But this is the first time we've been a consistent playoff team, a consistent playoff contender, and a consistent threat to make a playoff run. All of y'all, even y'all haters, were saying, man, if we get home field advantage, this team can make a run. Even the haters were saying that. Oh, they need home field advantage. Why do you think they were saying that? Because they know if we get home field advantage, the run's probably happening. The last time an offense had us in this position where we were viewed as that capable was when Marino was here. And we're not even going to get into Tyreek's drops. We're not even going to get into the fact that McDaniel is not Shula yet. And he's got his flaws. You can see them from the KC game. You can see them when we get in the red zone. You can see them. We're not going to get into, because Tyreek's drops has lost his games. All right, you want to keep it a $150? Tyreek Hill lost us that game in Germany. Tyreek Hill could have changed the outcome of that Philadelphia Eagles game. Tyreek Hill lost us that game in December. Tyreek Hill, Trent Sherfield, and Josh Boyer lost us that game in 2022 when all y'all told me Tua couldn't throw in the cold, and all y'all told me Tua could not throw in snowy conditions. And he ends up going out there and being our best player on the field. But Tyreek Hill drops a touchdown pass. Next play, Trent Sherfield drops a touchdown pass. And then Josh Boyer, his defense gives up a 3rd and 17 and allows a touchdown before the end of the half. If any one of those three things go our way, we win that game. So, I'll give you the overhated, but overhyped? What are we talking about here? Let's not act like we've had quarterback of quarterback with pedigree come through here. Was I the only one who remembers John Beck? Am I the only one who had so much PTSD since Marino left that I convinced myself guys like John Beck and Chad Henne were going to be the answer? See, that's why I constantly question, and I'm not just talking about you, the person that answered the question. This is a general statement. That's why I constantly question how much these people have actually watched were actually fans when Dan Marino was around and since. Brother, you want to talk about PTSD with this team? You want to talk about it? My stepfather, okay, who now has Alzheimer's and is literally losing his mind, right? Can't remember anything. The first game he ever sat down and watched with me was the Marino loss to Jacksonville in the playoffs. You want to talk about PTSD with this team? As a kid, sitting on my dad's lap, watching what Jim Kelly, what happened in that AFC, in that playoff game in '92. The missed kick against the Chargers. You want to talk about PTSD with this team? My shit goes back. As far as I'm concerned, the people who got to live through the 70s, I don't want to hear y'all. Y'all had it good. Y'all were able to watch a perfect team. Us 80s babies, we've had it even worse. I'll say we've had it even worse than y'all that were born after 2000. You know why? Because we had to watch the greatest thrower of the football never win a Super Bowl. Let alone get there in his rookie year and never get back. And we've had to defend that since the 90s. 80s babies, Dolphin fans, have it worse. We literally just missed that 70s window, and then we had to go through, we're a playoff team every year, we're a contender every year, but we just can't get it done. I watched one 1,000-yard rusher in the Marino era. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who the real Kareem Abdul-Jabbar came around and said, yo, you're so garbage, I want my name back. Only had Dan Marino only played with 3 top 10 defenses in his career. So, I appreciate Tagovailoa because I've actually been through it. And he clears anyone you can name, not named Marino, that's worn our jersey at that position. Since I've been born, and I'll say he's better than Bob Greasy. I mean, even people in the 70s will tell you, as a passer, Tua Tagovailoa is better than Bob Greasy. It's not even close. So, listen, I've actually been through it, man. These people, they ain't been through it, and I can tell. Yo, Corey Walker's good people, man. Leave his messages alone, Robert. All right, he's good. He's a member here. Shout out to Michelle Migliardi. She came through. She hit me with the $9.99 super chat. Appreciate you, my friend. Big supporter of the channel, Michelle. Held me down for quite some time, so I appreciate you, Michelle. Thank you for showing love. And now you got the Jags are all in on paying Trevor Lawrence $50 million range, according to Jeremy Fowler today. The Jags are going to pay Trevor Lawrence $50 million. You want to talk about mid? What conversation are we having? I'll go for Trevor Lawrence isn't even in Tua's category, and I told all y'all this when he was at Clemson. I remember people in chat, we shouldn't draft Jordan Love or Tua or Herbert. We should just tank another year, and then we should go for Trevor Lawrence. And I told me and EM Dolphin fans sat up here and said, no. God, no. And what has happened? That guy's regressed every year since Clemson. See, this is how people don't realize growth and development continuously happens, and early on stage, lack of growth and development can impact future growth. Dabo Swinney wasn't concerned with perfecting Trevor Lawrence. It was one of those programs where we got to win, we got to put the best athlete out there, go make plays. And what happened? He regressed every year. In college, he's had, one good season? Tua's had 2 good seasons, we can at least sit here and say. And we all remember the Arizona game in his first year, which was incredible, had all of us on our edge of our seats. So, I mean, people seem to forget. Tua not only had a coach trying to hold him down and hold him back, you're also throwing to guys like Lynn Bowden Jr., Malcolm Perry, a washed and injured Devontae Parker, Preston Williams, who couldn't stay healthy, Mike Gesicki, who couldn't, that guy couldn't doodle on a piece of paper because he's not creative after the catch, bro. All right, what are we talking about here? And now that he actually has weapons, and a coaching staff, I told all y'all years ago, Darrell Bevell when we signed Darrell Bevell, I said this is one of the best offseason signings, player or coach. And look at what this has turned into. And look at Darrell Bevell. He's declined even interviewing for offensive coordinator jobs because he loves working with Tua and Mike McDaniel so much. That's a literal fact. And this is a guy who Brett Favre followed to the ends of the earth, from Green Bay to Minnesota. So, man, I don't get it. It took Manning 6 years with a mix of Edgerrin James, Marvin Harrison, and Reggie Wayne to exactly. And what Drew Brees didn't win, if I'm correct, Drew Brees didn't win his first playoff game for 5 or 6 years, if I remember correctly. Right? But anyways, the Jeremy Fowler report came out that Trevor Lawrence is going to be paid. The Jags are all in on paying Trevor Lawrence $50+ million a year. That came out this morning. I'm telling you. And another thing I just want to cover quickly. So, first of all, let me just end this with this. If Trevor Lawrence is worth $50+ million a year, I don't want to hear a peep about Tua getting $55 million a year. Please. Oh my God, people don't understand the market. I did the numbers yesterday, right? The cap is supposed to go up $90 million over the next 3 years, so we averaged it out as $30 million a year. We did the numbers yesterday. If the contract kicked in today, today for this season, okay, he'd take up 21.5% of our cap. But if if it goes up $30 million like he's expected to next year, when the first year that contract would kick in, he takes up 19%. Year 2, he takes about 17.5%. And then year 3, it's around 16.5%, 17%. So it's in our favor to get it done now, because if he goes out and has an MVP season, which he's been on the verge of the last 2 years, guess what, guys? Now we're paying him $65 million a year. And now you're backed up in the corner where you got to pay it. There ain't no ifs, ands, or buts. So, yeah, man. Trevor Lawrence. But Rashee Rice, listen. You just won a Super Bowl. Okay? You're out here wiling out. All right? Remember, this guy's facing 1 count of aggravated assault, 1 count of collision involving serious bodily injury, and 6 counts of collision involving an injury from the hit and run in Dallas. Now, he's potentially going to be hit with an assault charge because he called the guy back to the club and sucker punched him. Come on, man. When I saw that, I was like, oh my God. But the Chiefs got their Super Bowl because there were a lot of character issues with Rashee Rice coming out. And a lot of red flags. And oh boy. So, man, I hope that, honestly, I hope that young man figures it out, surrounds himself with better people, because there is a lot of potential for production and more championships for that young man in his future. So I'm never going to prey on someone's downfall like that. I hope he gets everything figured out. I really do. I hope he gets his head straight before it's too late and the NFL and teams decide, hey, we're going to cut bait with this guy. So I'm just, I had to say that because when I saw that, I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. So anyways, let's get into this. We're talking about this contract, so let's get into this. So Tua Tagovailoa, a report came out today that he rejected a contract, at least, quote, unleased, one contract offer from the Miami Dolphins. All right, the clip has not come out, but the report is on Bleacher Report. So let's get into it. Dolphins rumors, Tua Tagovailoa got at least one contract offer amongst holdouts in OTAC. Again, let's just talk about the title right now. I told all y'all, from what I understand, this holdout story, which we've already discussed, we already laid out all the receipts yesterday. I talked about how he's training at 3D QB, so he's got to fly out there, okay? See, that's what his agency is using. They're using his time away from even the time away training as a quote-unquote holdout as a technique in this negotiation. Scotty was right. I think this is... Listen, I'm going to say this right now before we even get into the article. Does anyone not find this a little fishy that this report from ESPN is coming out, 48 hours after the previous report that, he's holding out? This and when I told you that previous report was exaggerated and that Athletes First is putting this out because they're putting pressure on the Dolphins, then this comes out the next day? Like, that's what's happening here. This is not hard to see. Like, come on, guys. They're trying to put pressure because they want this deal done. They want this wrapped up. And I'm going to tell you why they want this deal done. Tua's probably telling them, get it done. And the Dolphins want to get it done. So Athletes First in a position where, okay, how are we going to, let's put pressure on the Dolphins. And I talked about yesterday what I think the hiccups are. And it goes back to that report earlier in the week. I think we're talking about playtime bonuses and incentives. The difference between guaranteed money and fully guaranteed money with those bonuses coming in. I think that's what the hitch is because the Dolphins want to protect themselves. I see both sides of this argument, right? I see the Dolphins wanting to protect themselves. I would too, due to his history. And I see Tua. I just led the league in passing. The last 2 years I've been in the MVP conversation. I get it. So the Miami Dolphins reportedly made quarterback Tua Tagovailoa at least one contract offer that was rejected as the two sides seek a long-term agreement. He has, quote, and this is from Jeremy Fowler this morning on SportsCenter, quote, he has missed some OTA time, I've confirmed, and really it could depend on how negotiations go with his contract as to whether he starts to show up or is there full time. They have had contract talks, preliminary talks. I'm told that the Dolphins have made at least one contract offer, but we know how these things go. The offer apparently hasn't been good enough, or he'd probably be there full time. So the market is pretty set. We saw Jared Goff, $50+ million a year. So that's going to apply to Tua and Trevor Lawrence. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is what we're getting into. Trevor Lawrence, Tua Tagovailoa was a top 5 quarterback in the NFL last year statistically. Trevor Lawrence was like middle of the pack. And both Tua Tagovailoa, when he's been healthy the last 2 years, is statistically a top 5 to top 8 NFL quarterback in most major categories. Whether that be first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth. He's like that in all major categories, ranking from 1 to 8. Trevor Lawrence is like middle of the pack. Tua Tagovailoa statistics, and before I hear anything, don't act like they haven't loaded up for Trevor Lawrence. They got rid of a good back to move on from him. So they could draft Travis Etienne. Let's all remember, okay? They've even gone out of the way and drafted guys specifically for Trevor Lawrence. Okay? They went out and traded for what? Calvin Ridley. They gave Christian Kirk all that money. They signed Zay Jones. I mean, these are facts. These are facts. Let's not sit here. So they've done the exact same thing. I mean, they moved off James Robinson in the blink of an eye. Right? And so they've done things since Trevor entered the league. They didn't wait till year 3 for Tua. Tua had to wait for year 3 for us to start in 2022 for us to start building around him. But I mean, what have they done? They signed Gabe Davis, right? They lost Calvin Ridley, so what they do? They signed Gabe Davis and they drafted Brian Thomas Jr. Right? They've paid guys on that offensive line. Right? They got Ezra Cleveland. They brought in Mitch Morse, Brendan Sheriff. They had Cam Robinson. They drafted Walker Little. They drafted Anton Harrison. So they built the line for him too. They got a tight end in Evan Ingram. So let's start with there. And he's given them less in terms of production than Tua did, except he has that comeback playoff win was against the Chargers, right? So but if you were to go based, like if you were an alien and you had no knowledge of football and you came down last season and watched, I mean, based off production and what happened, you would think Tua Tagovailoa was a better quarterback last year because he was by quite a margin. So if Trevor Lawrence is getting 50, I say all that to say this: if Trevor Lawrence is getting 50+ million, let's just hope the Trevor Lawrence contract don't smack before Tua gets paid, because the next smack you'll hear is my hand hitting my forehead, being like, "Here we go." It comes down to the guaranteed money. Listen, $55 million over 5 years. What is it? 275 million, right? That's not the number you got to worry about. It's what's the guarantee. Go give him 275 million. Go knock yourself out. Give him 180 of that guaranteed. I think the problem is with incentives and everything. I think that's the number they're around. I think they're in the 180, 190 million guaranteed range. And I think Tua wants I wouldn't be surprised if he wants around 200 of that, 200 to 210 of that guaranteed. You can go give him your 275 million, because I'm telling you, if we end up paying him as a franchise 275 million, people, he's won MVPs and we've won Super Bowls. So I'm fine with that. It's the guaranteed money right now where we're at. That's what this is all coming down to. And are we really surprised he turned down a deal? Is anyone really shocked? If you've been watching this channel, you've known for years, right? I was out ahead of the Christian Wilkins stuff. All right? Me and Neil were telling all y'all what the deal was. We were out ahead of that. And we said there was a gap. See, that's another thing we haven't heard. Obviously, they're apart on money, but we have not heard, oh, they're so far apart on money, this isn't happening. That's the other thing that I would say is encouraging too. We're not hearing, it's a Grand Canyon gap and nothing's gonna happen. And I'm gonna show why. But we're not sitting here talking about a massive gap in pay. Clearly, I told all y'all, I've understood the framework is, I think the framework is understood, and I think now we're getting into the details of the contract. That's what I think we're getting into here. Now you're getting into the crux of the negotiations. And what happened? I already said this. Do the timeline. I told all y'all that Tua and the Dolphins wanted this done by the trade deadline. I'm sorry, by the season opening. Sorry, I apologize, in March. Then what happened? Then we got word that Dak wanted a new deal right away. So then everything paused because what did I tell y'all? Athletes first wanted to see what Dak's money was going to be. Then Jerry Jones comes out and says, well, we're not going to do a new deal. Then what happens? Oh, you see it on ESPN and Jeremy Fowler. Oh, they're back at the negotiation table. Negotiations are starting. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Right? Negotiations are starting. Then what happens? Goff gets a deal. Here we go. Now he's holding out. You're telling me CBS Sports had this before any of these local beat writers like Barry Jackson? Stop right now. Listen, I can give you it having over a guy like Elaine Poupar. I can give you that. But having it over Barry Jackson, I don't know about that. That's a tough secret to keep from people who are here 24/7. And even he had it over Cam Wolfe, Marcel Louis-Jacques, Jonathan Jones had it. Okay. So, anyways, I already broke that down and provided the receipts yesterday. Point proven, they exaggerated that. And I have been told privately, this is an athlete's first thing. They've gone public. And then now what's happened? Now this report. Oh, we've turned down offers. So what are they doing? They're trying to paint the picture that Tua's unhappy about his contract status and they lowballed him with an offer. That's exactly what this play is. That's exactly what the play is. Because what the lowball is trying to do is trying to get those who support Tua to look at Greer funny. And it's smart based off what's happened with Christian Wilkins, a fan favorite. They know Tua's a fan favorite. All you got to do is connect the pieces here to see what Scotty said earlier is dead on. It looks like Athletes First is turning this into a little bit more of a public negotiation. And we know Chris Greer likes to keep this stuff private. So that's them twisting at him again. Right? So, I mean, and like I said earlier, if you've watched this channel, you know they're notorious. They're notorious for starting off negotiations with like low ball below market or like bottom of the market deal. Like they're notorious for that. So listen, OTA start this week. Tua said he'll be there. Is he a man of his word? Because if he's a man of his word, but here's the thing. Just a couple days ago while I was out of town, this clip happened. So let me play this clip. This was Cameron Wolfe. Listen to what he says before getting into the OBJ stuff.
There's still optimism on both sides that there's going to be a deal done before the start of the regular season. Nothing yet. But you look at Jared Goff making over $50 million. Expect Tua to come in over that number as well. This is a quarterback who led the NFL in passing last year, stayed healthy for all 17 games. The Dolphins believe in him, and they've really built this offense around him. We talked about Odell. Odell raved about Tua's accuracy and said, look, at first I was hesitant playing with a left-handed quarterback, but you talk to all these guys, and they say his accuracy is different. The ball doesn't even look that way. And when you look at how the Dolphins have built this team, Mike McDaniel came in and said that Tua didn't need this plethora of protection. He needed speed weapons. And so they got him Tyreek Hill, Jalen Ramsey, and they got him Odell Beckham. And you look at Odell Beckham and what he's going to bring here. One stat our research team brought to us. Odell Beckham had 10 catches on third down last year. All 10 of them went for first downs or touchdowns. Mike McDaniel sold him on the opportunities on third down. Tyreek Hill and Dalen Waddle were double teamed a lot. They hope Odell can fill that role. And Tua with his quick passing, 2.5 seconds or less is his game. 62% of his snaps is 2.5 seconds or less. They think that he can maximize that offense. And so Tua's going to get paid soon, and they're building this offense to be quicker, faster, and Tua's even dropping some weight. He's down to 220 from 235 last year. And so number one offense last year, they think it's going to be even better. And I'd imagine we're going to see this schedule come out in about 45 minutes.
So there you go. So this was right before the schedule dropped. And again, so what happened? All of a sudden in 96 hours after that, everything's gone to crap between a holdout and then now 48 hours after that, now this. And this is why this matters. Cam's plugged to the team. So that's the team telling him, yeah, both sides are optimistic. And Cam Wolfe has golfed with Tua, so it's not like he hasn't talked to Tua too. Like he's linked to Tua's camp as well. And he says they're calm. And what did he also say? He's coming in over Goff's money. So why does that matter? Because if he's plugged in with the team the way we all know he is, that basically tells you the team's come to terms with that. They know he's coming in over Goff's money. So what? We went from Wednesday, both sides being optimistic a deal would be done before the season, to Friday, oh, he's holding out. Sunday, oh, he rejected an offer. If that doesn't scream athletes first, guys, we've been seeing how these guys operate the last couple of years. When he dropped, go back and find the receipt. When he dropped Lee Steinberg, the real life Jerry Maguire, that Lee Steinberg is who Jerry Maguire is loosely based off of. Okay? When he dropped Lee Steinberg and he added athletes first, I told all y'all, this is not good. Athletes first don't mess around. I've told all y'all, I've talked to people in the industry. Athletes first goal is to represent all 32 starting NFL quarterbacks so they can dictate the market. That's literally like a foundational goal of them. Right? Like, remember when all that stuff was going on with Lamar Jackson and his mother representing him in negotiations and stuff, and then all the hoopla happened about, like, how you got to be this to be an agent? That was all, from what I heard behind the scenes, that was athletes first trying to pull the rug out because he turned them down. So, athletes first is no joke. No joke. And they aren't playing around, man. They are not playing around. Now, 33rd team came out with AI-generated numbers expected for our top 3 receivers. And if we don't have a deal done, this is a thing of financial nightmare. I mean, we'll all be loving life. But for the Dolphins, this would be a thing of financial nightmare. AI predicts the Dolphins, look at this. Tyreek's going to have 126 catches for 1,825 yards and 13 touchdowns. Jalen Waddle's going to have 1,468 yards and 11 touchdowns. And Odell Beckham's going to have 869 yards and 7 touchdowns. Do the math. That's 31 touchdowns just between the 3 guys. That's a 40 touchdown season for Tua Tagovailoa. And I hate to be the bearer of even worse news, okay? But when you do the math for all of the yardage that's on here, right? That's equating to an MVP season, ladies and gentlemen. And if an MVP season happens, oh boy, that price is going, y'all think $55 million is bad right now. Guys, that's 4,162 yards between just those 3 receivers. That's a 5,000 yard season, my friends. We're talking about 4,162 yards between these 3 receivers and potentially 31 touchdowns. Ladies and gentlemen, we are talking 84 Dolphin numbers here. We are talking about 5,000 yards and 40 plus touchdowns. They say AI is scary. Well, it's scary for Dolphin fans who don't have their quarterback signed when they're crying about 50 plus million now when they look at this. Because I'll say it again. You think it's bad now. This happens. Plus, Jonnu Smith. Malik Washington, right? Durham Smythe is going to get 150 yards. A-Chan's going to catch footballs. Jalen Wright, Raheem Mostert are going to catch footballs. You add all that up, my friends, and that is a $65 million season. There ain't no way around it. He's resetting the market if this happens. He is resetting the market if this happens. And Lord, you can't, Ferguson, whatever your name is, you can't even say that. You can't even say that. YP, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but it's actually not that ridiculous, my friend. It's not that ridiculous, bud. It's just not. Go look at the numbers. I kept warning all y'all last year when we needed to add a tight end, and Omar would come up here and say, well, there's not enough targets to go around. Brother, Tua threw the ball 560 times last year. And remember, he was taken out late in some games and some blowouts, so it could have been even more. Remember, Tyreek Hill had 119 receptions last year. Waddle had 72. But then look at Durham Smythe, 35. Cedric Wilson, 22. Braxton Berrios, 27. Achane, 27. Raheem Moser, 25. Chosen, 4. There was 393 receptions last year for everyone. We're not even at, do the math. We're at what, 192? Yeah, we're at 292 between the three of them, right? So that would mean there's another 100 receptions to go around, and that kind of makes sense. Right? That's about 290. Last year there's about 393 receptions. So, yeah, it's actually not that. And brother, I do the breakdowns every week. How many times am I sitting up here for 2 hours because we threw for 45 times or 50 times? Like, take it from a guy who breaks down. I've broken down literally every single Tua Tagovailoa snap since he's entered the league on this channel. Take it from a guy. All I've seen is it increase. Like, McDaniel, I'll believe it now when I see it, when we start running the ball consistently 25 to 30 times a game. We praise his name and have shrines built in McDaniel's honor on a week-by-week basis when he commits to running the ball 22 times in a week or 25 times because it's so rare. So, I'm just saying. And Troy Dixon makes a good point. Troy Dixon makes a very, very good point. The Cardinals had 3,000-yard receivers once. It's happened. Now, obviously, OBJ is a 1,000-yard receiver. But, Larry Fitzgerald, Anquan Bolden, and Steve Breeston. Just saying. And that was, 2008? And you know what's funny? Who was the quarterback? Kurt Warner. And what have guys like me and EM Dolphin fan told all y'all? There's a lot of Kurt Warner in Tua Tagovailoa's game. So, good point out by Troy Dixon. Great. Love that kind of addition to the chat. And in case you didn't see it, I don't know if you haven't, but I'll talk about this quickly. Tua Tagovailoa, he's also a finalist for a Professional Football Writers of America award for the George Halas Award given to the player, coach, or staff who overcomes the most adversity to succeed. So a lot of people wanted Tua Tagovailoa to be Comeback Player of the Year. Well, the Pro Football Writers of America are kind of acknowledging that he's one of 3 finalists for the award. I believe Flacco and John Mechie, right? John Mechie came back from leukemia. And Joe Flacco came back from, eating bags of chips on his couch watching on Sundays. So I think John Mechie coming back from leukemia or Tua Tagovailoa coming back from concussions, when people in the media were trying to tell you he should retire, those two, I think, take precedence. And, listen, if John Mechie wins that award, you can't be mad. The man came back from leukemia. As a Mario Lemieux fan, for all you Panthers fans, oh my God, the Panthers and the Rangers. Listen, I'm actually cheering for the Panthers this round. I'm not even going to lie. I'm actually cheering. Honestly, I want to see I want Edmonton and Florida would be fun. But I'm cheering for the Panthers because I hate the Rangers. My God, I hate the Rangers. So I'm on your Panthers bandwagon for this series, but I've liked the Stars since Medana was around, and when so like they're not like one of my favorite teams or anything, but in the West I don't really have a team, so I want to see McDavid though in the Stanley Cup. I want to see what he's got. I want to see if he's on Sid's level. So, but anyways, I digress. So I think, if John Mechie wins, listen, what can you say? I mean, good on him. Good on him. All right. So listen, go get it done. Go get it done, Tua. So all y'all getting your wish that wanted him in the running for a comeback player of the year award. 465 of you in the room. Smash that like button, subscribe if you're new. Let's get into this. Does Xavien Howard regret not returning and restructuring with the Miami Dolphins? If you didn't know, Jalen Wright was the only rookie invited, not Chop. Take that seriously, Chop. You better put that on as a chip on your shoulder and let him know. Jalen Wright was the only rookie invited to the rookie premiere at the NFL, and the right stuff. Anyways, you see this picture posted from the rookie premiere, and Xavien Howard says, "Hey, I need my jersey back, bro." Laughing emojis. I'm just playing, but go crazy in number 25. Listen, this is a real conversation to have because the market, Mr. Xavien Howard, has not exactly been in your favor. Now, albeit, I'm going to have a Patreon update coming up, and I'm going to talk about why, listen, I'm going to talk about a certain cornerback right now that doesn't seem to be in big favor with Anthony Weaver, and no, it is not Cam Smith, because from what I'm hearing, they are fans of Cam Smith. So I'm going to have a Patreon update coming probably tonight or tomorrow, so be on the lookout for that. But with Jalen Wright and, Xavien Howard here, listen, that market is not what he thought it would be. And obviously, I would rather, if you're going to add to that secondary, give me Justin Simmons over Xavien Howard. Personally, and, Braxton, I hate to be the one to say this, I need Braxton to hit the bricks so Jalen can get back to his Tennessee number of 0. That's why I'm not going to get a Jalen Wright jersey in year 1, because I think he might go to number 0 when Braxton is gone next year. I'm being honest with y'all. So I'm not going there, but I will I'm getting a Devin Achane jersey. I'm getting a Jalen Wright jersey, and I'm getting a Chop Robinson jersey because they were man crushes of mine. Right? They were draft man crushes that we drafted. So I got to get their jersey. Right? Just like Waddle was a guy I defended. I got his jersey. I'm going to get a Holland one when I can actually, I don't like that pressed on stuff. So anyways, I digress. Xavien Howard, listen, if he's willing to come back for the vet minimum, in the chat right now, if Xavien Howard is willing to come back for the vet minimum, would you take him? I'm going to put a poll in the comments right now. If Xavien Howard would return on the vet minimum, would you take him? On a 1-year deal, right? Would you take him? Because we need all bodies on deck. We need all bodies on deck. So I'm putting that in the chat right now. Okay. It's in the chat. If Xavien Howard would return on the vet minimum for 1 year, would you bring him back? Let me know in the chat. And listen, because where I'm at with this is this. If anything we've learned over the last 2 years, when we've all can agree we've had this roster, if we can agree on anything, it's It never hurts to be as deep as possible. And I'm going to be honest with you. You know, I've talked about this before. It always bothered me that we never won a playoff game for Rashad Jones. I was a huge Rashad Jones fan. I was a huge Rashad Jones fan. Huge. And Xavien Howard's my favorite secondary player since Rashad Jones. And then obviously we got Jevon Holland, who I love. And then we got, I love the player. Let me straighten that out. And obviously I'm a huge Jalen Ramsey guy now because I was before. He was the best in the league. And now he's on my team. Love me even more. So, you know, I'm just saying, would you bring him back? Would you bring him back? Because I would. I would. And I saw a great question in the chat right there. Great question in the chat. What number would he wear? That's a good question because Kohu has his college number. He can't even rock number 4. Now, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, at one point in his career, he started off in Baylor with number 18. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he started off number 18 in Baylor. And then he switched to 4. So, I think 18 is available for us, right? Because the last one to wear that was who? Preston. Was that Preston? Wore 18? So, I mean, if he's coming back, he can go back to his original Baylor number of 18. I'd be down for that. Obviously, he's not going to pay Kohu to take 4 for like a year. But, oh, yeah, Easy E, you're right. Eric is a comma, right? So he doesn't even have that. Sorry, I just, you know. And then again, Eric is a comma might not even be on the roster. But you're right. Eric is a comma. And Eric is a comma can't change to his college number because it was 13. Scotty says, trade Barrios so Wright can take 0. Listen, I want to see Wright in that 0 because I want to buy a Wright jersey this year. So I'll buy an H-hand jersey this year and then a Wright next year. But I know Wright's going to go to 0 as soon as Barrio dips. Like, as soon as he's gone, I know he's there. So in the chat right now, on this poll, we have 100 votes. 81 of you said yes, you would bring him back. 19 of you said no. For all of you that said no, I want to hear why. Now we're at 102. We're at 80-20. Yeah, but, I mean, Surtain's not an option, brother. You know? If you could get Justin Simmons for $8 million and then turn around and Xavien Howard agrees for the vet minimum, you're spending like $10 million on bringing in Xavien Howard and Justin Simmons to the secondary. You're adding a guy who's familiar with this roster and with that secondary, and you're adding a guy who obviously makes his secondary way better. And there's no pressure. There's no pressure for Xavien Howard to be 1 or even 2. Just saying. So, I mean, I'd be down to bring him back. I really would. I really would. Almost 500 of you in the room on this beautiful Sunday afternoon. Appreciate you joining for me for this show. Listen, here's where we're at. You know, Wednesday, Cam Wolf says both sides are optimistic a deal would get done, and it's going to be more than Jared Goff, which is what I've heard privately as well. Which that tells you the team, you know, the team is pretty much, they're at an understanding with that. Then all of a sudden, 48 hours later, he's skipping voluntary workouts. And then 48 hours after that, he rejected a deal. This is athletes work at play, my friends. That's what this is. That's what this is. They're putting the pressure on. They want the deal done. And it's because Tua's probably, listen, don't think football clients don't say, hey, I want this deal done. And they say, okay, let's get it done. And then they go through their methods because that's exactly what it feels like is happening. Tua's saying, I want this wrapped up. I want this out of the way. Go get me my money. Get this done. And they're saying, okay. And now it looks like they're beginning a full court press because we know Greer likes to keep it private. And now they're leaking things publicly. And we know that ain't the Dolphins. So, listen. I've gone over the numbers yesterday's show. You want to go back and look at them. $55 million. right? When that contract kicks in, it goes from 19.5% down to about 17%, 16.5%, 17% of the cap over 3 years. So listen, get it done now before he goes out and has an MVP season or is in the MVP running again and leads the league in passing yards. And now we're at 60+ million. So that's where I'm at with it. Let's get this done because this seems to be getting more expensive. And if the Jags are committed to paying Trevor Lawrence 50+ million, my God, Tua's put up better numbers over the last 2 years and it ain't even close. Smash the like button, subscribe if you're new. I appreciate each and every one of you coming through. And OTA start tomorrow, so I will see you all week, all right? Fins up all day, every day. Smash that like button. Love all y'all.